You said before, you have people, if you heard from their testimonies, survivors, you have family members, you have clinicians, and all of us believe real strongly that we know for a fact that things do get better. It may take time. There may be some times where we may be up and down, but things do get better. And I think that's what brings us the joy in knowing that we can do this. As we know that we all need to manage our own boundaries or whatever, but we believe help is really important.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're going to do, wanted to kind of close out, well, this session with our two ladies who spoke earlier, and just kind of ask them some questions. First of all, I'll start with, I want to know what does recovery look like, okay, and what does it look like on the road to recovery? Okay, what does recovery look like now, as far as where you are now, and what does it? How did you get there? What did it take to get there? I know for some people, for example, when you're first diagnosed, it looks like a lot of confusion because you don't know what the heck is going on, right? And then better. So I'll just open it up and let you two ladies flow as the Spirit leads you.
Always
What does
recovery.
what does recovery look like?
Looks like now, and what was it like before? How did you get started on the road to recovery?
I would say for me personally, to get on the road of recovery, I literally had a breakdown, like a severe breakdown. That allowed me to start to get the help that I needed, because again, I was not able to verbalize what was happening. I just remember doing a lot of crying, and I'm doing things that are not rational, cutting myself, trying to kill myself, a lot of just not rational things, and a lot of emotions and a lot of things flooding through my mind. Like I can't even keep a single thought. And so having that breakdown, it started, okay, how can we help this? How can we help this girl? Like, what can we do? And it started me going to, finding, because at first, I was being diagnosed just by a general practitioner, my general doctor, and getting medication from her, but not being supported, where depression wasn't my only problem, and I'm only being treated one way, and then it caused other things to happen that just had me break down. So my recovery looks like in an open place where I'm getting the treatment that I need from psychiatrists and therapy, because I do both, and having the support of other people around me, and having that open communication with people who have questions that that maybe I can answer for them, and be that mouthpiece for them, as well as being stable, taking the medication. And I stress that only because there was a time I didn't want to take the medication, and I was doing more harm to myself than good. And understanding that the medication helps. And Nisia helped me with that, like, you have to take your medication, baby girl, if you want to get better. And understanding that it's okay. Because, I come from a background where taking medication, you were weak. It was, like, we don't take medication, what is wrong, So that's what recovery looks like for me. Just having that regimen of the people around me to support me, being open with my therapist and my psychiatry, and taking the medication. That's what it looks like for me.
Let me see, recovery. I think I had my major break. I was married at the time, and something triggered that. There's a lot of things I don't share. Something triggered it. And then I just spiraled down. Recovery means a lot to me because people think that you're complete. They think you're completely healed when you've recovered. That's not always the case. Recovery really is a day by day moment for me. I can be up, I can feel like I'm recovered, I can be down. It still fluctuates. But you definitely have to use your strategies. You know, you have to take your medicine and whatever, works for you. And like I said, recovery for me is investing time in other people. If I can continue to do that, then that's part of my recovery and my self-care. I know even this week, I know I need a day to recuperate. I can feel that on my body, so that tomorrow will be my Sabbath, and I'm going to re-energize. But I always give myself one day. It's never more than that one day, because I always have to bounce back. So that's my recovery.
What would you say? I think you mentioned this earlier, that if you are in recovery or beginning your recovery and you're seeing a doctor, it's great if you could take a buddy with you, right? Somebody, an advocate with you. What is something, when you're talking to the psychiatrist or the mental health person, that you should make sure that they know? Or is there a question that you should ask? Is there something, that sometimes people walk away and say, I should have asked this?
The side effects.
Okay.
They don't always tell you the side effects. And then when you go to CVS and see all them side effects, you'll be like, I'm not taking this.
You're right about that.
You're like,
I had a client yesterday that said that she's not taking it because I actually read the thing yesterday.
That's it. But my psychiatrist told me, well, if you drink, it's going to cause seizures. I said, well, I won't be taking communion because it's not going to happen. But a lot of psychiatrists don't tell you that because it's 15 minutes in and out.
15 minutes in and out, that's all I get is 15 minutes?
That's it.
Yeah.
Refill, that's it.
If that.
Yeah.
There you go, if that.
What about you, for Janine?
Repeat the question.
Is there something, well, actually, I'm going to come back to that because I think that's a good point there. But is there something, let's say if you go into a new person, doesn't know, they're going to see their psychiatrist for the first time, is there something that they should pay attention to or should know?
I would say them to be open and as honest as possible with their psychiatrist, because they can't help you if they only know half truths of what's happening to you. My psychiatrist can't help me if I'm not disclosing that I'm cutting myself. I'm not getting the proper help at that point. So you have to be very honest with your psychiatrist and literally disclose everything, anything, because anything could be a symptom. Certain behaviors. If they only know one thing, they're only treating that one thing. So I think honesty, as much as you possibly can, and being, you have to put your trust in that person at that point, and to say, okay, this is what's really going on with me. I remember with my therapist, with my psychiatrist, I wasn't telling him the whole truth, and I wasn't getting better either. And that was a problem. And, my therapist told me, Janine, you're going to have to come clean. You telling me all of this stuff, and I'm like, okay. So I went back in there, I'm like, well, okay, this is what's really going on. I cried way too much. I'm up here one day and I'm down here 4 days, I'm cutting myself. I'm doing things that I can't always explain why I'm doing them. I can't think through a certain process. I sit at my desk and I know I'm supposed to be working, but I can't even decipher what that is at that moment in time, And I had to really just pour out and be honest. And the one thing he did say, now I can help you.
But also psychiatrists should know signs too. You shouldn't have to tell them everything. For instance, like when I don't have my nails on, I pick my skin. I think that will be a sign, that might be a little nervous condition. If, before she even told me, I already knew what was going on. Because she wear long sleeves all the time. I'm like, okay, I know what's going on. So sometimes they have to be in tune because, like you said, there's a trust factor. other psychiatrists had me on over 45 medications. Yeah, because I trusted her, and like you said, you don't ask the questions because you don't know. So I think sometimes they need to pay a little bit more attention as well.
And then it still goes back to something she said earlier about having in that support group someone that can go with you. I have a friend that when she goes to see her endocrinologist for diabetes, she'll ask, would you please go? She said, because I get anxious, I don't remember everything they're saying to me, so I said to her, whatever you're going through before you get there, a few weeks, you got an appointment coming up in a month. Observe yourself.
Right.
You might have to write it down, okay? Because when you get there, all that stuff is just gone, okay? So if you write it down, you say, this is what I've been dealing with, through this. And I've actually been in there with her when they asked her a question, and I happen to have known, some of the things that she was dealing with, or she couldn't remember something. And then I understood. I'm like, what I need to be going to the doctor with her for, okay? But then I understood, And it's weird. We have no problem when we take our children to the doctor. We can deal with them. We talk to them. We answer whatever needs to be done. But when it comes to dealing with adults, we feel like they should be able to speak for themselves, but not always. So
it's not always too, because as when you're dealing with, sometimes you're just facing the immediate thing. So if I cut, if I cry a lot, if I have mood swings, but right now I'm just crying a lot. So I'm going to come with the thing that's happening right now, and sometimes we forget to mention that. But I think what she said was really important, assessing. As a clinician, I'm always assessing the people that I see, because it may be something so small, and are you smelling this week? You don't usually smell.
That's right.
I can smell your underarms, today.
Right.
So there's something declining. You're paying attention to declining things, paying attention to behavior, or you're not making eye contact, right? You're not looking in my eyes today. So different things. I think that's really important for clinicians to do their part in that place.
And back to advocacy, it's a pride thing. I don't think even in my worst I would ask anybody to go to the doctor with me. And a lot of people to this day still don't know when I'm struggling. They see the S on my chest and, that's it. And I know that's a problem, but that's just how Anisi is. I think the only person will know when I'm going through is an 11-year-old girl that knows named Naomi. Because I can be in my room and she can be in her room. And my mind is racing. She'll be like, Ma, you okay? Like, how do you...
Because she's tuned in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so actually, and if my mother hears my voice, she knows. But really, I don't...
Yeah, that's why I am with my daughter. Okay.
But yeah, I like what you said. That was a good point. That some people got to know, and this is not any disrespect or to the medical profession or psychiatrist, but most of the time, the psychiatrist is not going to spend a whole lot of time with you in comparison to your therapist. Okay, that's why it's so important. I tell people, when you go in and see that psychiatrist, it's important that you know that you got to talk. Because and the reason why they don't pick up sometimes on certain things is because they're not spending a whole lot of time. And if going back to what we were saying, if you're not used to seeing a doctor, you think the doctor's asking you, well, how are you? Oh, I'm doing okay, doc. And you want to go on to your, the game was on last night. I'm doing okay. That's not the question. Is how are you? The time is clicking.
That's right.
And then you're like, well, gosh, I didn't even ask me no question. No, he did ask you a question, right? How are you? Okay, that you have to jump right in there. Okay, this is what's going on. These are the problems I have with my medications. You have to slow the pace of the session down. Because if you don't slow the pace down, it's going to be real short. You doing okay? Yeah. Any thoughts of suicide, killing yourself? No. I'm fine. Or anybody thoughts of killing anybody else? No. Okay. Medication's doing okay? All right. Okay, here's your script. You went, well, good grief. He didn't ask me any questions. He did.
And I think that's important to know, because some people can't differentiate between a psychiatrist and a therapist.
Yeah.
And they think that a psychiatrist is going to do therapy. A psychiatrist is not going to do therapy. And so some people don't want the hassle of seeing a therapist continuously. I just see a psychiatrist, but no, you actually need to see a therapist as well along with the psychiatrist, because the psychiatrist is doing the medication management, but the therapist is a person that's gonna help you skill build, help you process and go through some things. So I think that that's important, because a lot of people, especially those who haven't grown up with that as something in their life, they don't know the difference, and so they go expecting that, and then their feelings get hurt because the psychiatrist is like, boom, you're out of here, when a therapist could have that more engagement with you.
Yeah, because you definitely gotta. It's your body. You gotta speak up. You can't wait to kind of be asked.
Right.
I think
And my psychiatrist. I'm sorry. If I'm very thankful because he's very in tune. It's not 15 minutes. If I'm dressed really nice, he'd be like, "Oh, you having a good day?" But I come in with my tennis shoes. He'd be like, "Oh, how you doing today?" I'll be, he's just paying attention, and that's a blessing because a lot of them, they don't care. Don't care.
Because they got 50 other people waiting and
There you go.
wait.
That's right.
And then you get some who take a little longer, take sick a little
Yes.
longer. But again, it depends on the setting. But I think it's important that people, listening, who know that you got to speak up. You have to speak up. You may have to. You may get, lucky, but you have to kind of speak up. I think, does it get better? And I ask both of you, does it get better over time?
Because
Your illness, living, because I know at first it can be really scary, right? You don't know what the heck is going on. But does it get better? Excuse me, as time goes on.
Definitely.
And how so? In what way?
I'm more focused. I can do things and reach out to people that I definitely couldn't do years ago. And I've accepted it. I tell my daughter, my daughter probably can diagnose somebody with schizophrenia better than, a psychiatrist will. But yeah, like I said, I had my days. I bounced back, but it's definitely a lot easier. Even when I was teaching a class last week, and part of my self-care is when I get up, I have to take a bath or a shower. I have to. And they was like, well, how did you get to that point? I said, because years ago I wasn't at that point. It's just a process. Nope, don't call me between such and such. I'm doing that. In my day, one girl said, well, how do you take a day? Well, see, she don't have any kids, so it's probably, she probably not stressed out like I am. But you just have to take that day. And I'm thankful for that day because it used to be a week. So, yes, definitely mine has improved.
Janine?
Does it get better? It does get better. I think when you come into, as she said, acceptance of what's happening to you, being on a good regimen, I think it can, having that open dialogue makes it better, and not just for yourself, but for your loved ones as well, because what's happening with you affects them as well, and so, but I believe it can definitely get better.
Is acceptance the same thing as giving up? What is acceptance? What does it mean when you accept your illness?
For me, I accept what's happening to me. That there is an issue. I don't think it's giving up. I think it's coming into a place where, okay, this is what it is. I can have some control now. I can build what needs to happen to get through. So it's not giving up by no means. It's not giving up. It's just, this is what's happening. This is a fact. This is reality. This is not, as what they would say, this is not a drill. This is it, so, and being accepting of that, because I think it would deter your progression in getting better if you're hitting your head against the wall with not accepting the fact that I have bipolar depression. We want alcoholics to say, hello, I'm in AA, I'm an alcoholic. Well, I have bipolar depression. I have schizophrenia. You know, it's that acceptance of it. But it doesn't mean by any way that you are giving up or that you just lost hope.
You might want to, but it's not an option.